Long-time welcome to this, the fourth edition of the Tour of Oman, where there's a tranquil setting to greet the riders, the calm before the racing-induced storm. Of all the early season races for 2013, this one has attracted the most star-studded field. Chris Froome will be the leader of Team Sky. Alberto Contador at the head of affairs for the Saxo Tinkoff team. Peter de Vliet returns as the defending champion, and the world champion, Philippe Gilbert, is here, but so too is his teammate, the Australian Cadel Evans, who makes his return to racing after a stint recovering from illness. Tom Bonen, the same can be said for him, as he was ever popular with the school children before racing got underway. The Belgium about to make the start for his season. As the 142 riders across 18 teams make their final preparations before racing gets underway, life goes on for the locals. But what about some of the favourites? Bradley Wiggins, what are his thoughts on racing here in Oman?
I've never done it before, and obviously we normally go to Tour of Algarve at this time of year, and there was some doubt as to whether the race would be on. So, back in November we did the programme, we decided Oman, and it's becoming a bigger race. A lot, it's quite mountainous as well in places. So, a lot of the guys are coming here as preparation, guaranteed good weather. So, it seemed like the natural thing to do.
And a man who always attracts plenty of attention. What about Alberto Contador?
Creo que es ideal para empezar la temporada. El tiempo es muchísimo mejor que el que podemos encontrar.
It's the best place to start the season. The weather is much better than what we have in Europe, especially in Paris-Nice. I'm happy to be here. We'll wait to see how the sensations are and how the team is going. Here's a look at what confronts them for stage one as they head out from Al Musana and make their way through to the Sultan Qaboos University to 162 kilometres, one noted climb, two intermediate sprints with time bonuses up for grabs. Weather conditions are almost ideal as the Argos Shimano team are milling towards the front, one of the squads to watch on the stage. Temperatures expected to be up towards the 30-degree mark. It's an almost pancake flat course. That one King of the Mountain point, it's only around about 300 metres long before they actually get to the top. And a chance to enjoy the countryside as well. Well, maybe not for the riders who are in the race, but certainly for those of us who are following. The flag comes in to get racing underway, the fourth edition of the Tour of Oman. And as soon as the flag is in, the first attack, and it's the Dutchman Bobby Treskel on a new squad for him with the Champion Systems team, who finds himself off the front. Uchima, the Japanese rider, is about to join him. The first of the intermediate sprints, Uchima trying to collect the points. Bobby Treskel, though, using all his experience, he gets the 3 points and the 3-second time bonus. He has tasted success in the past from big breakaways, Bobby Treskel. Today is the sort of day where he's just looking to fly the flag for his new squad and justify their invitation to a race that has arguably got one of the strongest fields you'll see throughout the season. Inside the final 30 kilometres, and Uchima wants the honour of being the last rider to be caught from the breakaway. The two intermediate sprints so far, they've both been won by the Dutchman Treskel. The same can be said of the one King of the Mountain point that has been contested. So Bobby Treskel will be awarded the most combative prize of the day, but Uchima, he wants the honour of being the last rider caught. He spent the last few seasons at racing in Italy as he's about to be caught by the main field, with the Orica Green Edge team now coming towards the front, looking to try and set up for the stage victory for their sprinter Matt Goss. Baden Cook is a former green jersey winner from the Tour de France. He's there to try and support Matthew Goss to try and get a stage victory. Argos Shimano looking to set up the day for their sprinter Marcel Kittel. Or could it be John Degenkolb? Oh, Beppu, the Japanese rider from Orica Green Edge, has just caught Uchima, the Japanese rider from their national team, who's been out in the breakaway throughout the day. The Sky squad towards the back. That's Bradley Wiggins inside the final few kilometres. There's a fall with two riders from Champion System going down. Wiggins has been caught behind it, but not too severely interrupted. And he doesn't look as if he's all that interested in trying to stay in contact with the main peloton, hoping perhaps that he'll get the same time as the rest of the field, given that that fall happened inside the last 3 kilometres. About to make the right-hand turn through the roundabout, and then it's the headwind run to the finish line. The white colours of Argos Shimano, they've been doing a lot of work throughout the day. They're now left to the front as they're starting to run out of men, getting that lead-out train organised for their sprinter Marcel Kittel. They go through the gates, 1,000 metres to race. It's Orica Green Edge on the right-hand side of the road with Argos Shimano on the left as the green colours of Cannondale trying to support Peter Sagan, making their progress up through the middle. And the French national champion Bouhanni, he is looking for the wheel of Sagan, but so too is the Belgian Tom Bonen, as it's three riders in the white colours who have control at this point. Tom Vierles is opening up the afterburners, looking to set up for the stage victory for Kittel. Kittel has tasted success here in the past. He's waiting for his moment to pounce. He goes over the top of Bouhanni. Bonen has been boxed in somewhat. It's Kittel who will take the win. Bouhanni looking to hold on for second, but it appears as if it's Apoliano who gets the nod for second, with Bouhanni, the French national champion, in third. Marcel Kittel taking the stage victory, and with it, the first red leaders jersey. With the stage victory comes the red jersey for the German, and he opens up his account for season 2013.
It's a relief to get finally now the first win of the year for myself and for the team. I think it gives a lot of confidence to, of course to me, but also to my whole team. I mean, everyone is looking for the first win, and it's a great start.
It is a great start. In the minor placings, Apoliano was in second position. It's Traskell who sits in third place overall, but he wasn't in third position on the stage. Bouhanni was third on the stage. Dominic Rowland inside the top five as well. Here's a look at the course for stage 2 as they make their way through to Al Bustan. It's a stage of some 146 kilometres, 2 intermediate sprints once again, and just the one categorised climb. Fanjay in Bid is the stage start as the red jersey is being worn by Marcel Kittel. The green jersey is worn by Apoliano, the rider who finished second on yesterday's stage, but it is Kittel who leads that classification. His lead overall is just 4 seconds ahead of the Italian who rides for the AG2R team, and that's courtesy of the time bonus collected at the end of the stage. The flag comes in to get racing underway, and the young Italian squad represented at the front, the Bandiani Valvolle team, youngest team of the race, with all of their riders eligible for the Best Young Rider classification. It's expected to be a quick start with a reasonably strong tailwind early in the stage, a few windy roads as well, which always provides the incentive for the breakaway. Large group of riders trying to come off the front. The reaction coming fairly quickly as well from the Argos Shimano team. They don't want to let too many riders get away. The bigger the breakaway, the more difficult it is for the team of the red jersey with Marcel Kittel to be able to control. Robbie Traskell is there once again, the man who was in the breakaway yesterday, marking the move heavily. That's all been brought back together. We see another bid to try and get off the front. And two riders now forming at the head of affairs. It's Kinoshito from Japan, just as we saw yesterday, the Japanese team represented at the front. And once again, the Dutchman from Champion Systems, Bobby Traskell, is off the front. Bobby Traskell starting to show some signs of fatigue. Kinoshito has looked the stronger of the two so far out on the stage. That's not surprising, given that Traskell was in the big breakaway yesterday. Once they get to the top of this climb, there's not a lot of respite. The descent doesn't start for a while, and there's a few tricky roads to be contended with. The main peloton make their way onto the climb, and it might have deceived a few when looking at the road book, but Kinoshito, he wants the honour of being the last rider to be caught, because it's inevitable the breakaway will be consumed by the peloton. It's just a question of when. 21-year-old Japanese rider is off the front as a 31-year-old Dutchman is about to be caught by that main field as Traskell has almost come to a standstill. Reflective of a few of the riders being caught by surprise with the severity of this climb, the Dutchman looks severely overgeared. This is the NetAt team now coming off the front. This is the German on the squad. It's Paul Voss who is making the move. He gets across to Kinoshito. He's almost there as they're approaching the top of the climb. An opportunity for Voss to collect a few points in the race for the King of the Mountains. The King of the Mountains prize really just contributing to the most competitive prize, as that prize is determined on points across the King of the Mountains and also the sprint classification. But Vos it is who heads across the top of the climb in first position. 24 kilometres left to race. The main peloton not giving him a lot of leeway. He looks across the shoulder. Surely he'll quickly resign to the fact that it's inevitable that he will be caught. So maybe the best idea is just to save some energy. Team Sky now coming towards the front. Wiggins sitting in third position, but it's Froome who's the leader of that squad. Michael Schär was also towards the front for BMC Racing in the red colours, as the peloton is starting to get strung out. They've made their way through the second of the intermediate sprints. Inside the last 10 kilometres, they're about to hit a climb that they all know fairly well. It's a climb that takes them in and out of the resort that they've been staying at, and the man who has decided that he wants to make a move is Alberto Contador. Just 5 kilometres left to race across the top of the climb. It's Nocentini, the Italian in the white colours, who's with Contador, and the peloton are starting to scurry to get across to Alberto. This is a rapid descent. They'll be touching speeds of 90 kilometres per hour, maybe even making it up towards the 100 mark. Couple of twists and turns before they get inside the last kilometre, where there's a little lump towards the finish line, and the green colours coming across in the tuck position like a downhill skier. It's Peter Sagan who doesn't just simply make contact but goes straight past Nocentini and Contador, and that has caused a reaction. And one of the men trying to come across is a rider with a reputation of being amongst the very best for descending. Tony Galopin has gone across. So too has Vincenzo Nibali, a former teammate of Peter Sagan. He's marked that move heavily inside the final 2 kilometres, and Wiggins is losing contact at the back of the race. Or is he? No, not quite. Wiggins just managing to hold on. There have been reports across race radio that he's been under pressure. And the rider in the middle, riding for the Yam squad, it looks as if it is Martin Alminger, the former Swiss national champion. It is Alminger, but he's about to be blown away by the Slovakian national champion as Sagan has bridged across once again. Galopin trying to respond, but the rest of them are just racing for the minor placings. Sagan with 500 metres left to race. Last year he entertained us with his victory celebrations. What has he got in preparation today? He points to Cannondale, he gives the thumbs up, he gets his first win for the season. The race for the minor placings, it's Galopin with Alminger in third, followed by Vincenzo Nibali, then Froome coming in for 6th position on the stage. A small gap back to the rest of the peloton. Peter Sagan with one of his teammates. It's Bonda, who he enjoys the celebration with, taking his first victory for the year. And with the time bonus and the small gap, he also takes the red jersey as the overall race leader. It's 9 seconds his advantage to Galopin, with Alminger in third spot, followed by Nibali and Buhana. Landscape and some of the architecture catching many by surprise in Oman, and the music has been a regular theme at the start of each stage. Here's a look at a course that confronts the peloton for stage 3. It is a stage of some 190 kilometres, the longest of the race, as they make their way through to Wadi Dakar Dam. At the start of the day, it is Peter Sagan who wears the red jersey as the overall race leader. Tony Galopin is in second position overall. 2 men who are both eligible for the Best Young Rider classification. A sign of the changing of the guard within cycling perhaps. Peter Sagan already confirmed himself for last year in the Tour de France, winning the green jersey. But for the French, they've been impressed for the last 12 months or so with Tony Galopin, and he's offering some confirmation in Oman. Flag coming in to get racing underway. It's the Cannondale squad in the lime green colours towards the front, just marking the moves to assess who goes off the front. Hatanaka is the first man to go, the Japanese rider. They've been in the breakaway each day so far. It's a different rider on all occasions, but they're certainly making sure that they're flying the flag this time through. Zhang is the Korean in the breakaway, the Korean national champion, riding for the Champion Systems squad. And it's Christian Dalla Stella from the Italian team, Bardiani, who's managed to make the move in the green colours, not to be confused with Cannondale. And one more rider trying to come across, and it's the leader of the most competitive prize. It's Bobby Traxel from the Champion Systems squad. For the third day running, he aims to get the hat-trick. The Dutchman is about to make contact. He's in the breakaway once again. His teammate Zhang just waiting momentarily at the back of the group to make sure that it does become a quartet. Della Stella looks across the shoulder. Breakaway group now at 3 minutes and 22 seconds ahead of the main peloton, still with some 90 kilometres to race as they make their way up the major climb of the day. And this is a climb that they'll use later in the race as well, so they better get familiar with it. Not today, but in the 5th stage, they'll be climbing this ascent as well. This is the climb of the Busha Alamrat. This is Della Stella, the Italian, the youngest team in the race. A squad that historically, slightly different sponsor this year with Bandiani Volvale coming on board, but a team that historically has always breeded promising young riders. This is Bobby Traxel. And the combination classification, or the most competitive I should say, is a combination of the green, the race for the points, and the King of the Mountains. Back to the main peloton with Ratto leading the charge, one of the teammates of the race leader, Peter Sagan. Wiggins in the black colours, looking fairly comfortable. There's Dombrowski, also in the black colours of Team Sky, the debutant, the American who caught plenty of attention at the Tour of California last year. And the peloton not too keen to catch the breakaway just at this point. Della Stella's not too keen to keep company with the man who started the move, who's just losing contact at the back. Hatanaka from Japan, along with Bobby Traxel. And for Bobby Traxel to collect more points at the top of this climb will go a long way to securing him the title of the most combative in the race. His teammate Zhang, the Korean, looks as if he's contemplating, do I wait for the Dutchman or do I keep going and stay with the Italian who's riding off on his own? Della Stella making his way towards the top of the climb to collect 3 points, which actually, there's no King of the Mountains classification. The points at the top of each of the climbs just contribute to the most competitive prize. He's going to be the 24-year-old Italian who does lead the charge over the top. For the first time, this squad getting into the breakaway. And Zhang has waited for Traxel, for the Dutchman to get the points at the top of the climb, and that ensures that he extends his lead in the race for the most combative. This is for the second intermediate sprint. It was Traxel who won the first of the intermediate sprints. Della Stella now goes over the top of Zhang from Champion System, and it is the Italian who manages to collect the 3-second time bonus. And a little flurry for second place in the sprint. And the Italian will be pleased with that. At the very least, he gets himself on the result sheet. Back to the main peloton as they start to wind up under the pressure of the Cannondale squad. As Bobby Traxel, for the first time in this year's race, is back in that main field. Green jersey today, that has been worn by Marcel Kittel, a big strong German riding for the Argos Shimano team. He'll have the task ahead of him today to be able to defend that lead, as it's quite a difficult finish. Looks as if we're down to 2 at the front, as Zhang has gone back to the main peloton as well. Well, at least he's lost contact with the leaders. Zhang now back in the main field. So the 2 riders from Champion System who were in the breakaway have rejoined each other, but unfortunately for them, no longer in contention to win the stage. And just 14 seconds the advantage for the 2 leaders. With some 26 kilometres left to race. It's just a matter of time before they're caught as well. And Hatanaka, who was the first to attack, now gets the honour of being the last rider from the breakaway, which at one point had a lead of more than 4.5 minutes. He now has the honour of being the last rider to be caught. And 20 seconds is still his advantage, so there's no great rush to catch the Japanese rider. He now is about to be caught as the jostling for position commences at the front. This is Jens Maurits, the big Dutchman for the Orica Green Edge team, who comes to the head of the race. In fact, it's Sam Bewley who's on the front, with Maurits, the Dutchman, just behind him. Katusha in the red colours also marking the moves. It is a challenging climb to the finish line, but challenging for the sprinters, not so much for the climbers. Not the sort of stage for Rodriguez, as BMC Racing thinking perhaps that this could be a stage for their man, Greg van Avermaet. Taylor Phinney is towards the front, trying to do the job for the Belgian. 1 kilometre to go. It's Popovic now who sits at the head of affairs. Gregory Rast just behind him. They're looking for Tony Galopin to try and take the stage victory. They make the right-hander, they get onto the climb, and it's Fabian Cancellara who has the role of super domestique for the man who's in the white jersey. That's Tony Galopin. He sits in third position, now second spot, as he tries desperately to hold onto the wheel of Peter Sagan. The red jersey, the overall race leader, they knew it was coming, but there's not much they could do about it. Sagan opens up the gap. The rest of them are just racing for the minor placings. The Slovakian, he'll make it back-to-back victories. What celebration does he have in store for us today? It's confirmation across the shoulder, and it's a nonchalant raising of the arms. That's number 2 for Sagan. It's Van Avermaet in second position, with Galopin having to settle for third. It was then Contador in fourth. Peter Sagan in 2013, picking up exactly where he left off from in 2012. He also extends his lead in the race for the red jersey. A slight time gap on the finish line, plus the time bonus adding to his advantage. He's now 16 seconds clear of Galopin. It's Van Avermaet in third position at 26 seconds behind. Stage 4, it's the Queen stage of the race as they head towards the top of Jabal Al-Akhtar, otherwise known as Green Mountain, 152.5 kilometres. The red jersey of Peter Sagan, even the race leader has conceded that it's unlikely he'll be at the top of the general classification at the end of the stage. Expect to see some different teams towards the head of the peloton today, controlling affairs for their leaders. Froome, Contador, Nibali amongst the favourites for stage honours, along with Cadel Evans and Joaquim Rodriguez. It's Breschel in first position, followed by Contador, then his teammate Hernandez. Here goes the red jersey as it bids farewell to the lead in the race overall. Peter Sagan, not a day for a fast strongman like Sagan. This is one for the pure climbers. Pozzovivo is there at the back of the group for AG Tour Le Mondial. Richie Porte is there for Sky. But where is the team leader Froome? Contador's on the wheel of his former teammate. Nibali was also there, as Wiggins, he doesn't have a number on, but it is Bradley Wiggins, the man who normally would be wearing number 18. The number appears to have peeled off throughout the stage. He'll be conceding a big chunk of time on today's stage. Nibali is at the back of the group. Contador is there with Hernandez for company as Richie Porte, the Australian for Team Sky, looks across the shoulder, almost doing a track stand, waiting for his team leader Chris Froome. So now just 3 in front, with one of them a faithful Team Domestic. That's Pozzovivo in the white colours, the little Italian climber. As Contador attacks, Froome has caught up with Richie Porte, and now Contador has the road to himself as he's also managed to distance Vincenzo Nibali. The red colours, that's not the race leader, that's Cadel Evans on his birthday, 36 years of age today, Cadel Evans. Contador has got the punch to get away, but has he got the strength to stay away? Further back down the road, we see the remnants of the main field under plenty of pressure. Froome along with Evans. Richie Porte is doing the job. 12 seconds is the deficit to Alberto Contador. Well, maybe it's not quite that much. That's Contador on the right-hand side of the road, about to be caught once again by Vincenzo Nibali. Another example of Contador having the punch but not the strength in February. The third place getter from this year's, or last year's I should say, Tour de France, Vincenzo Nibali catches up with the former winner of the race, as Contador showing all the signs of a man under pressure, continually looking across the shoulder. Porte rejoins. This time he has Froome firmly hitched in a ride to his back wheel. Contador and Porte, former teammates. No doubt the Spaniard would be wishing that they didn't lose the services of the Australian across to the British squad. Rodriguez now at the front. He raced like this throughout the Tour of Spain last year. He lost contact early on stages, worked his way back and picked up victories. There goes Richie Porte. He swings off, losing contact, goes to the right-hand side of the road to get out of the way of anybody, desperately trying to get back on terms with the front end of the race. Contador assesses his rivals as Froome just presses on at the front. This is the battle not just for the stage victory, this is also the battle for the red jersey. As the road flattens out ever so slightly, Evans is back intact. Froome at the front, looking down just to adjust the gears and maybe to get a little bit of a feel for where his rivals are. Rodriguez was looking into the eyes of Vincenzo Nibali as Froome goes once again. The high pedalling cadence of Chris Froome, it looks a little awkward, but it is very effective. Contador goes across to him. It's Evans this time who's the first to lose contact. Contador and Nibali, they seem to be playing a game of me and my shadow. Rodriguez gives a little bit of distance as well, but he's just racing his own race. He's not too interested in these little flurries of attacks, sticking to his strategy, riding his independent tempo. As Evans has got some company with Kenny Esselon, the young Frenchman who's just 21 years of age and could be the revelation of this race. 1 kilometre left to race. Don't worry about the red jersey of Peter Sagan. He's 6.5 minutes almost behind at this point. One of the members of this leading group of 4 will be moving into the red jersey. And Evans, a little bit further back down the road, he isn't done with yet. Rodriguez, sneaky little move, doesn't launch a vicious attack, just glides up alongside the barricade, hoping that he's not noticed. Well, he ended the season last year as the world's #1 ranked cyclist. He'll be noticed, and he's noticed by his compatriot as it's Contador this time who's trying to respond, and he's given Rodriguez a fair bit of distance. Now Nibali goes. This is Esselon in the white colours from FDJ, as Froome appears to be under pressure, or maybe just waiting to pounce. Climbs all the way to the finish line for Rodriguez, as it does for everybody else, of course, as Froome is getting back to Contador. Does he stay with him? He goes straight by. The Italian Nibali, he's got no response. Likewise with the Spaniard, as Froome now has a little bit of distance, this time with Contador on the back foot, as Rodriguez is still trying to hold on. Froome now checking behind him. That's an indication that maybe there's not quite enough road left for him to be able to get across to Rodriguez, who is looking to open up the account for Katusha here at the Tour of Oman on what has been a difficult start to the season for the Russian squad. This is a lot further back down the road now, more than 7 minutes behind the last time check for the red jersey of Peter Sagan. 2 stage victories so far. Somebody is about to join him with an honour of a stage victory today, and it looks set to be Rodriguez. Just 100 metres or so to go, but it's a desperately long 100 metres for Rodriguez. Steep gradients approaching some 13%. Rodriguez will get the stage victory. It will be Froome in second position. The time bonus and the gap will be all important. Froome is set for the red jersey as Rodriguez is set to begin the celebrations. He goes past the Union Jack, but it's a Spaniard who is going on to win the stage. Rodriguez clawing his way to the finish line. He's almost there at a standstill. He takes the win at the top of Green Mountain. And 4 seconds behind, it's Froome who will move into the red jersey with second place on the stage. And Contador has been caught. He's been caught by the birthday boy. It's Evans in third place, and that will move him into second position overall. Contador fourth on the stage, into third in the general classification. Nibali over the line in fourth. Well, it is like a European climb the way it winds its way to the top of the mountain, but it's not quite at the top as we see Wiggins coming across in 62nd position on the stage, but he'll be pleased to see the red jersey is no longer with Peter Sagan. It's now with his teammate Froome. Sagan conceding more than 8 minutes on the stage. For Peter Sagan, it has been a successful race though. He's got brilliant form, although he's now lost the overall race lead as Rodriguez steps up to the podium to celebrate. And with second place on the stage, The red jersey is the overall race leader. That now moves across to the shoulders of Chris Froome. Froome in the red jersey, as always at Sky, the team played a critical role in allowing him to do so.
The team did a fantastic job. So to be standing here in the leader's jersey now feels like an honour to do so.
And his lead is now some 24 seconds ahead of Cadel Evans, who sits in second place, with Contador still threatening in third position at 25 seconds behind. Stage 5 of the race gets underway at Al Alam Palace, making its way through to the Ministry of Housing in Bushehr. It's 144 kilometres, 2 intermediate sprints and 2 climbs, but worth noting that the third sprint is actually exactly the same as the first climb. Breakaway group of 9 that established a lead of some 3 minutes early in the stage. It's starting to close down now. Zdeněk Štýbar from the Omega Pharma Quick-Step squad is the best placed rider in this breakaway group, and he sits in 17th position overall at 1 minute and 56 seconds behind. Plenty of Australians on the side of the road, as they were yesterday, to celebrate with Cadel Evans his 36th birthday, and Evans currently sits in second position overall. He's at 24 seconds behind that red leader's jersey of Chris Froome. Contador it is who's in third place at 25 seconds behind. And this, further back down the road, is Kump. Marco Kump it is that's doing the work for Saxo Tinkoff. Tazzato in second position. It's then Contador. He clearly has a plan and hasn't surrendered hope of getting that red jersey off the shoulders of Froome. Daryl Impey, the South African from Orica Green Edge, was also riding towards the front. This is Kuzinski of Katusha. He's been in the breakaway throughout the day. It was his teammate Rodriguez who won yesterday. Nibali and Contador having the conversation. Is it time to go? Yes, it is. And now it's Vincenzo Nibali who launches the attack, and that is working out perfectly for Contador as a gap has opened up and Froome is now on the defensive. Vincenzo Nibali, the winner of the Tour of Spain 2 years ago. It was Contador who won that race last year. And for Vincenzo Nibali, across to a new team this year, he's looking ambitious as he's trying to match pedal stroke for pedal stroke with Contador. He's now starting to show the strain of that effort. The Italian, like somebody who has eyes bigger than their stomach, he might have bitten off more than he can chew, as Contador now sheds himself of Nibali and is starting to bridge to the leaders. This is Matteo Trentin from Omega Pharma Quick-Step, one of the original members of the breakaway, who's just been picked up. Hernandez in the move, looking across the shoulder, waiting for Contador, and here comes Alberto. And Contador looks across the shoulder to see what's happening behind, and what is happening is that Richie Porte is doing the job for Chris Froome. Evans has lost a little bit of contact over the top of the climb, but is fighting his way back into contention. Joaquim Rodriguez was in the wheel of Chris Froome as well, riding very attentively towards the front. No doubt looking for back-to-back stage victories. This is a select group of around about 18 riders now forming at the front, as the big favourites for the general classification are starting to chew up that leading breakaway group. Irazar is the rider from Radio Shack. Greg Van Avermaet is there for BMC Racing. He's been in the break throughout the day, Van Avermaet. Grivko is the Ukrainian national champion in the move for the Astana squad, as Vincenzo Nibali has made contact as well. That's Pozzovivo just behind him. And at the back of the group, the quickest sprinter from that contingent is Daryl Impey, the South African. Froome in the red jersey with just one teammate for support, and that is Richie Porte. Hernandez now, after having been in the break all day, he's got the job to try and look after Contador. They're heading back up the climb, the opposite direction, and this time it's actually an intermediate sprint, so there's a 3-second time bonus up for grabs. And Froome is showing signs of being under pressure. Hernandez, his job appears to be done for the day. Now Contador starts to open up. Evans is responding strongly, but is he going to be strong enough to stay in the wheel of the Spaniard as he climbs towards the top and the time bonuses? Evans is losing ground. Contador now on his own. Once he gets to the top of the climb, Still some 12.5 kilometres through to the finish line. Showed the signs yesterday, Contador. He's got the punch to get away, but he doesn't have the strength to make it stick. Back to the legs of Chris Froome as he's trying to defend that overall race lead. Rodriguez it is who sits in his wheel. Evans is about to be caught. Has the Australian got the strength left now to respond and get on terms with Chris Froome? Froome in that unlikely style that is ever so effective. And Evans maybe not with the legs to be able to respond, as Hernandez is also losing a little bit of ground. 8 seconds the advantage for Contador. 25 seconds is his deficit in the general classification. There's a time bonus of 3 seconds at the top of the climb, plus 10 for the stage win. Evans now also finds himself losing ground with Chris Froome, but for the Australian losing ground with Contador, he's losing a hold of his second place in the general classification. Meanwhile, Rodriguez is playing a patient hand. Rodriguez, surely not a contender to take that red jersey away from Froome. He's some 50 seconds down overall. And just thinking about the stage victory, letting Froome do all the work at this point. After waiting patiently, Rodriguez has decided now is the time to go. Froome is trying to respond, and Contador, well, he's trying to hold them off. Rodriguez almost there as Contador goes across the top in first place, so he'll get a 3-second time bonus, and that moves him up to second place overall. It's Rodriguez in second spot at the top of the climb, which is also the intermediate sprint, and then Froome in third. Working well together now, Froome and Rodriguez, to close down to Contador. Now they head back down the climb, make their way towards the finish line. 3 riders together with an advantage of some 15 seconds or so of 7 riders, which includes Cadel Evans, who's trying to defend second place overall. Ronaldo Nocentini is also in this group, along with Pozzovivo, 2 teammates, Italians on the AG2R Le Mondial squad. Hernandez is there for Saxo Bank. He won't do any of the chasing. And Daryl Impey is there for Orica Green Edge. Inside the final 2 kilometres, and Contador is attacking. Froome is on his wheel, but Contador continues to try and get rid of the man in red. And Rodriguez, at this point, is playing the role of the passenger. He doesn't have to do too much. Just needs to hope that they can hold off this chasing group, because if they do get there, then surely Daryl Impey will be able to win the stage. 500 metres to go. It's Froome who opens up the sprint. Rodriguez got alongside him, but he now starts to fade. Contador challenges, but Froome has enough to hold on. He gets the stage, extends his lead overall, and it's Impey who wins the sprint for 4th position. And Cadel Evans in that group. Evans now slipped to 3rd place overall as Froome takes the win. Contador 2nd, Rodriguez in 3rd place. Significant victory for Chris Froome. Not only the stage win, but he also extends his lead in the general classification. 27 seconds now, his advantage over Alberto Contador, as Evans slips to 3rd place at 39 seconds behind. The 6th and final stage of this, the 4th edition of the Tour of Oman. It makes its way through to the Matra Corniche, 144 kilometres. Quite a challenging finishing circuit. Ideal conditions to get the racing started on the final stage. Temperatures forecast towards the mid-20s with not too much wind to speak of. There is a climb early in the stage, but it's not categorised. There's then one after just 38 kilometres, which is categorised, and that is quite a difficult climb. Bobby Traxel in the most combative jersey is just slipping under the radar, almost hiding in the boot of the lead car. It's the Latvian Smakoulis from Team Katusha. Reaction now coming from the Bardiani team. This is Di Corrado that's making the move to try and go across. Wesley Creeder is the rider from Vacan Soleil who's also responding to that very early move by Smakoulis. Number 31, Fabian Cancellara, the leader of the Radio Shack squad. Smakoulis assessing the situation. He's already opened up an advantage of 1 minute and 41 seconds on the main peloton. So he's waiting for company. Kirienka setting the pace for Team Sky at the front end of the main field. Shouldn't be required to do so for too much longer. You would suspect, with the fact that the best placed rider in that breakaway is more than 20 minutes behind Chris Froome, that once they get over the top, it will be the teams of the sprinters that start to do the chasing. Kirienka wearing arm warmers, but they're not Team Sky arm warmers. He's borrowed those from one of the riders on this Swiss team, Yam. It's an indication that maybe he's got a skin irritation, as we saw with David Miller a few years ago. I can assure you that arm warmers aren't required for the climate. Here's Chris Froome looking fairly comfortable as he sits on the wheel of the Italian recruit across to the squad. That is Dario Cataldo. Coming to the top of the climb, it's still Smokoulis, just as it has been since the bottom of the climb, who leads the charge. Greda will go over the top in second position, with Di Corrado in third place. From the top of the climb, the destination now is Muscat. They make their way down towards the Corniche there into the city of Muscat. The peloton with 17 seconds now to make up on that leading group of three. There's some 17 kilometres left to race. The inevitable catch is about to happen. The teams of the sprinters have taken control over the main field, while Sky is still doing what they need to do to keep Froome out of trouble. This is the man who started it all, Smokoulis. They twist and turn their way around this circuit. It's a slight change to what they've seen in the past. There is a little bit of a climb to contend with. The peloton now well and truly strung out. This is Vandenberg at the back of the group. Tom Bonen should be somewhere towards the front, looking to sharpen the legs. Well, in fact, Tom Bonen just returning to the back of the peloton after a rear wheel puncture. Now, shortly, he'll be making his way up towards the front. It's Wiggins who is on the front. He's setting the tempo, looking after that red jersey of Froome and making sure, well, that Froome just simply stays safe, as it's a bit of a tricky descent. No concerns about the camaraderie between the Sky squad, as they are doing all they can to look after Froome. Wiggins, job done. Maybe that's the last we'll see of the reigning Tour de France champion in this year's Tour of Oman. And the teams of the sprinters are trying to get themselves organised. Orica Green Edge hoping to set up the stage victory perhaps for Matthew Goss, as it is Omega Pharma Quickstep. They're looking after the interests of Tom Bonen. Argos Shimano, it won't be Marcel Kittel this time around. They'll be thinking about John Degenkolb. And Taylor Phinney is also getting into the fray. Goss starts to open up as he gets off the slipstream of Daryl Impey. He heads down the centre of the road. The challenge is coming, though, from Tom Bonen. It's Nassir Bouhanni that slips through, though, the French national champion, to take the win. It's Bouhanni in first position, Goss in second place, with Taylor Phinney in third. Bouhanni, he did boxing as a junior. He lays the uppercut on Matt Goss and takes the stage victory. Chris Froome, he's the winner of the general classification, an important step forward in his career.
It's a good start for me. It's a very comfortable way to start the season now. This has been my first race, so to come away with this kind of a result is massive. Having the team support me right into the finish there, I literally had an armchair ride to the finish. It was fantastic.
And an impressive podium with two Tour de France winners beside him, and perhaps Froome, the Tour de France winner in waiting. Contador in second place overall, Cadel Evans in third position. Plenty of mutual respect on the podium as well after what has been a hard-fought race. Men who are sure to battle each other throughout the season. Froome wins 27 seconds clear of Contador. Evans in third place at 39 seconds behind. It was Rodriguez fourth, with Nocentini rounding out the top five. For Chris Froome, the success continued as he won the points classification as well. The white jersey for the best young rider, that was with the young Frenchman Kenny Iserlohn. The most competitive, that went to Bobby Traxel, and BMC Racing took out the team's classification. The fourth edition of the Tour of Oman, it has been a stunning one, both in terms of the scenery and the racing. Chris Froome takes the title. What more is to come in season 2013 for Froome?